originally in ancient China, like 3,000 years ago, they believed the afterlife.
For more than 2,000 years, they have stood in silent, perfect formation, an army of ghosts buried beneath the soil of northern China, guarding the secrets of their master. They are the Terracotta army of Qin Shi Huang, the first emperor of China, a man who conquered a nation and then sought to conquer death itself. We thought we knew their story, a colossal monument to an emperor's ego. But what if the story is far stranger? In recent years, advanced technology has allowed us to look closer than ever before, to scan the silent legions with a precision unimaginable to their discoverers. And what this new site has revealed is rewriting our understanding of an ancient empire. The clues lie hidden in plain sight, in the unique curve of a clay ear, the chemical signature of a lost color, and the toxic air leaking from a forbidden tomb. This is not just the story of a buried army. It's the story of a man who built a vision of eternity and the deadly, unsolved mystery he left behind. The story begins in the spring of 1974. The farmlands outside Xi'an were cracking from a severe drought. A group of local villagers, desperate to find water, decided to dig a new well. Among them was a farmer named Yang Jifa. He dug through the pale, compacted earth until about 15 feet down, his shovel struck something hard. He assumed it was old pottery. Then a life-sized human head, crafted from clay, rolled out of the pit. More fragments followed, a torso, pieces of sculpted armor, and bronze arrowheads glinting in the dust. They couldn't have known it, but they had just broken through the roof of one of the most astonishing archaeological sites on Earth. The farmers stacked the fragments by the field. Some of the bronze arrowheads were sold for a few coins. The discovery of a lifetime almost vanished back into obscurity. But rumors of strange statues reached a local cultural official who drove out to investigate. He saw the clay figures and knew instantly they were extraordinary. Within months, excavation teams arrived, and the sheer scale of the find forced China to construct an entire museum complex over the dig site, a shield against the elements, and the growing crowds who came to witness a miracle. When the first pit was cleared, it looked like a battlefield frozen in time. Row after row of clay soldiers, standing in formation, their heads lifted as if waiting for a command that would never come. They faced east, the direction of the rival kingdoms the emperor had conquered. The scale defies imagination. Modern estimates place the total at over 8,000 warriors, hundreds of horses, and more than 100 war chariots, distributed across multiple pits. The largest chamber, Pit 1, is an underground hall spanning nearly 3.5 acres, larger than 2 football fields. Here, the main infantry force is arranged for battle, a vanguard of archers at the front, followed by ranks of armored soldiers, flanked by troops guarding the sides and rear. It is the exact tactical layout of a real army preparing for combat. Pit 2 reveals their strategy. It contains a combined arms formation, cavalry units with saddled horses, kneeling archers caught mid-draw, and chariot crews ready to fight. Pit 3 is smaller, more intimate. It is the Army's headquarters, a command post with a few dozen high-ranking officers directing the forces. A fourth pit was discovered empty, an unfinished chamber, a silent clue that the project may have been abandoned mid-construction. The gray figures we see today are a ghost of their former selves. When first unearthed, they were covered in brilliant color, deep reds from cinnabar, vivid blues, and a synthetic pigment so advanced it shocked scientists, barium copper silicate, known today as Chinese purple. It was one of the first man-made pigments in the world. These colors were painted over a layer of lacquer, a natural resin that created a smooth, glossy seal. It was a brilliant technique in antiquity, but a disaster for modern archaeology. Once exposed to the air, the ancient lacquer would dry and contract, causing the paint to flake off almost instantly. Early excavators watched helplessly as vibrant colors vanished in under a minute. Today, a chemical stabilizer is applied the moment a new surface is uncovered, a race against time to save the last traces of paint. And the soldiers were not unarmed. Over 40,000 functional bronze weapons have been found. Swords, spears, and crossbow triggers so well made they were still sharp. The bronze was treated with a chromium salt solution, a preservation technique that protected them from corrosion for millennia, a technology not rediscovered in the West until the 20th century. But if this is the army, who or what are they guarding? At the heart of the complex stands a massive man-made pyramid of earth, nearly 250 feet tall. It is peaceful from a distance, but terrifying once you know what it hides. This is the unopened tomb of Qin Shi Huang. Historical accounts claim 700,000 laborers worked for nearly 40 years to build it. It is not a single room, but an entire underground palace, a miniature version of the emperor's capital, sealed from the world. Ground-penetrating radar and magnetic surveys have mapped its structure, a vast, walled compound deep underground. Sloping tunnels descend toward a central burial chamber, nearly 50 feet high and protected by engineered defenses against flooding. No one has ever entered that chamber. Everything we know about its contents comes from an ancient text written by the historian Sima Qian and the unsettling scientific readings of the earth around it. Sima Qian wrote that the tomb contains palaces and towers filled with priceless treasures. He claims its ceiling is painted with the constellations of the night sky, while the floor is a map of China, with rivers and seas recreated in flowing liquid mercury. He also described a final line of defense: crossbows rigged to fire automatically at any intruder. For centuries, this was dismissed as legend, but modern science has found eerie evidence to support it. Soil samples taken from the mound have revealed mercury levels up to 200 times higher than normal. The concentrations are so strong, mercury vapor is actively leaking from the hill today in a pattern that perfectly outlines the shape of the suspected burial chamber. The tomb's air is almost certainly a toxic chemical trap. Opening it presents an impossible challenge. The moment the 2,000-year-old seal is broken, oxygen would flood in, and fragile artifacts, silks, texts, painted surfaces could disintegrate into dust. The catastrophe of the flaking paint on the warriors would be repeated on an unimaginable scale. And even if the automated crossbows have failed, the tomb structure is a hazard. After 2 millennia under tons of earth, its ancient wooden beams could collapse without warning. For now, the tomb remains sealed, the ultimate archaeological prize, too precious and too dangerous to touch.
To understand a tomb like this, you have to understand the mind that built it. In the 3rd century BC, the land we now call China was a war zone of 7 rival states. Into this chaos came a boy king who grew into a conqueror. His name was Ying Sheng. In a series of brutal wars, he vanquished every rival, and in 221 BC, he unified China for the first time in history. He dropped the title of king and created a new one for himself, Huangdi, or emperor. He declared himself Qin Shi Huang, the first emperor. His vision was one of absolute control. He standardized everything: currency, weights and measures, even the width of cart axles, so that every cart would fit the ruts of every road. He connected his empire with a network of highways and ruled through a philosophy known as legalism, the belief that people are motivated not by morality, but by fear of punishment. He also sought to control thought itself. He ordered the burning of books and the execution of scholars who challenged his authority, ensuring that history would begin with him. But for all his power, one enemy remained: death. As he aged, Qin Shi Huang became obsessed with finding the elixir of life. He sent fleets across the sea and drank every potion his court alchemists brewed. Many of those elixirs, ironically, contained mercury, the same poison that now saturates his tomb. In 210 BC, at the age of 49, the man who wanted to live forever died, likely poisoned by his own quest for immortality. His dynasty collapsed just 4 years after his death. His grand vision of an eternal empire lasted barely 15 years. But his true legacy was not the dynasty. It was the blueprint. The next dynasty, the Han, kept the system of a single, centralized empire that he had forged in fire and blood. The very name China is derived from his state of Qin. He built an army to conquer the afterlife and a tomb to house his eternal reign. He failed to achieve immortality, but he left behind a mystery for the ages. An army of 8,000 silent sentinels, standing guard over a forbidden palace, protecting the secrets of the emperor who unified a nation and whose ambition continues to echo 2 millennia later. He sought to rule beyond death, and in a way, surrounded by his eternal silent army, he does.